think we did it. We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. We have a special stream today. We have someone from across the pond, Mr. at Jim's Garage, or James, to be more precise. Thank you for joining the stream, man. You want to introduce yourself to the chat here?
Yeah, hey Brett, thank you very much for having me along. Hopefully some of you know me by now, that guy with a funny accent talking about home labbing stuff. But if you don't, please go and check out my channel. Great to meet everybody. Again, if there's things that are missing in the home lab space, I'm more than happy to get involved in that as well. I really take a lot of fun out of doing things that aren't out there, challenging myself, and must say I've learned a hell of a lot as well through this process, which has been really beneficial.
Yeah, you're on an LXC kick these days, huh?
Yeah, it's sort of, I kind of had this grand theme of starting out on my home lab journey, which was all about how I became from basically running a gaming PC to sort of running 20 to 30 virtual machines, getting a Kubernetes cluster and all that. And yeah, LXC seems like the next road to go down. Really keen to see how I can share GPUs and stuff.
It's funny you say that because that's exactly like how my channel transitioned into home labbing. Like I started with a gaming machine and I saw something that was about like virtual machines and self-hosting stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to run VirtualBox on this, like my living room gaming machine. And I made like one video about it and it got like way more views than my normal stuff. And I was like, huh, people want to watch this? Cool. So that's how I got into it. Who do we have in the chat right now? Who are the nerds that are here right when the stream starts? Let's see. We got Jason. What is up? Wolfgang. Oh, he said he couldn't make it, but I appreciate you stopping by and leaving a nice little message. Noah, Jason. What is up, my man? Stefano. There he is. PC Magic Home Lab. What is up? Bob, FTLN, Ballin, giving us the countdown. Thank you so much for that explosion. Yep, that's what happens when the stream starts. We explode. Jason, Mr. Matt Sargent, what is up? Mark, Jeffrey, Ali. I'm just gonna say Ali because I'm gonna butcher that. OPM, Eric, Rob. I think I got everybody. Arsenio, Jeffrey, Wally, what is up? Howdy, everyone. Welcome to the stream. So, yeah. We are going to hang out and talk some home labbing stuff. We do have I don't even know if it's an event, but we are going to go through and rank everyone's favorite server OSs or NAS OSs. I kind of lumped them up into one group, so we're going to do that in a bit. But yeah, you mentioned you went from what, like a gaming machine to hosting a bunch of VMs and stuff. What actually, was there like something that specifically got you into doing self-hosting or self-hosting and starting YouTube? How did that kind of start up?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first one. I think that the self-hosting was kind of, I didn't start work until I was about 30, so eternal student, and then sort of got a job in IT, and I thought I'd best start learning about virtual machines and what's going on there. So I'm a very sort of learn by doing it. So for me, the best thing was to just go and set all this stuff up. And then naturally being inquisitive, it was sort of, right, I understand that. What's the next bit? What's the next bit? What's the next bit? And then YouTube, bizarrely, was something I thought about doing about 10 years ago, sorry. And then life just got in the way, as it does. Family, kids, job, houses, marriage, all of those sorts of things.
Kids and marriage, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Amen.
So it was sort of probably an early midlife crisis. I thought, if you're not going to do it, forget about it or have a stab at it. So I thought, yeah, why not? I had no expectations. The past sort of 8-9 months has been pretty overwhelming, to be honest. As you can see, I still don't have any flash setup or anything fancy like yourself, but continue to plod on, hopefully make videos that people enjoy. I really enjoy the feedback, and that kind of spurs me on. I think my whole USP was trying to dumb things down, if that's the right word, or at least make it make complex things super simple.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I try to do, and people seem to think that I'm doing an okay job at that. So
No,
I'll
you're doing
continue.
great. Like your channel is has like such a crazy trajectory right now. Like it is going super well. Like you started it when? Like what, 8, 9 months ago you said?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, tell me
Yeah,
about
that's
it.
crazy.
I'm sure you remember the days before you start getting monetized, and I remember looking at it thinking I need 4,000 hours to get monetized, and it took like 2 months, and then all of a sudden I get that in a couple of days. So
Dude,
the growth has been crazy. Yeah,
yeah, that's crazy. Like when I got to like 100 subs, because it was like, okay, the first like 20 or something were like my friends and people I told to
yeah,
subscribe. And I got 100. I was like, wait, people outside of like my group are subscribed to my channel? And then I made videos for like a year or whatever and didn't see like any growth. And then
mm.
it's just been slow and steady since then. But yours is
Well,
taking off. It's
it's
freaking
just been
awesome.
the past week. It's like over 200 subs a day. I'm just like, whoa.
Are you
I
sitting
think
there refreshing your app, just watching it go
I
up?
used to. Now I just do in the UK it's 10 a.m. It updates,
Yeah.
so I just give it one swipe a day just to
Mm.
see what's going on, and then I'll leave it. I will admit, at the beginning, I was like a teenager on a mobile phone, just sort of
Hmm.
swiping all the time, and then
I'm
yeah, that
I'm not
drives you
even gonna
crazy.
pretend I don't do that when I drop a video. Like
Yeah,
I'm just like constantly refreshing.
well
We
that's
have a
good.
question. Stefano asked Jim, your favorite text editor, Vim, Notepad++, Gedit, Nano? What is it?
Well, I got a bit of a telling off from someone in the comments because I kept saying nano it, and they were saying nano's a text editor. You shouldn't just say nano. Um, so if I'm in Ubuntu, it's nano. If I'm outside, I used to use WinSCP quite a bit,
Hmm.
just because I kind of replicated my journey, and I think for visual learners, having something that's nice and native in the Windows OS is really helpful. But recently, I've started using VS Code and doing remote SSH and that sort of stuff. So VS Code for Windows and Nano for Ubuntu.
Yeah, that's
I say
pretty.
Ubuntu Linux.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. But I've made it a point. I'm doing a live stream next week. Spoiler, where the entire stream is going to be dedicated to me learning Vim. So I want to come out the other side as a Vim user, so I can breathe all that air up on my high horse when
I
I
was going to say
when I
it's got
uh
that
huh
air about it, hasn't it?
exactly,
I
yeah.
started off and everyone was like, because I think it came defaultly installed on whatever flavor I was using, and I thought this is horrible. You've got to press I to insert and then go up and down. I just found
uh
Nano a lot more friendly, so that's what I stuck with.
I still think that. So like I'm going into this like I still don't understand why people use Vim. Like everyone who uses it swears by it. They're like, oh, I never used it, but once I did, oh man, it's great. So I'll let you guys know if I ever hit that like epiphany where I become a Vim guy. But yeah, I like Nano. It's just so easy. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, obviously VS Code on Windows or Notepad++, whichever. So one thing that I thought was interesting that I saw in the news, or I saw an article pop up that hindsight, I should have read through the entire article, but I want to bring it up. Let me see if I can find it. I should have had it up. I'm a terrible streamer. But the gist was that um, the flippers, the flipper little RF, what did they do? RF, or they do all types of different wireless. Um,
It's like Kali in a handhold, isn't it?
yeah, but it's like a hacker device. Little flipper zeros, they're getting banned in Canada, or they're supposedly. So let me bring this article up and go ahead and share the screen. So yeah, Canada moves to ban the flipper zero over car hacking fears. So the gist of this article, I'm not going to make everyone go and read this article because it's like 8 paragraphs long, and that's just way too long in this day of age. But basically, Canada's moving to block any device that can be used to hijack cars or hack cars. So the title's kind of misleading because then the CEO of or COO of Flipper comes in and says, yeah, the Flipper Zero can't really be used to hijack a car because any car made in after the 1990s uses rolling, what do they call them? Rolling codes to unlock and lock. And the Flipper Zero can't do that. So he's like, I don't know why this is a thing. The Flipper Zero can't do that. So the gist of it is, I guess, deciding can a Flipper Zero even do that? Because apparently there's a bunch of videos out there of people hacking cars with a Flipper Zero. So I don't know. I don't know how to think about that. Like, it's on one hand, I'm like, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you can hijack a car with a device, I don't want that out there for people to get into my car. But on the other side, I'm like, well, if it's something that's so easily obtained, car manufacturers should like beef up their security to make sure you can't do that. So I'm kind of torn.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like government stepping in on something that they don't fully understand. We get a lot of that over here with things like the online privacy bill. They were trying to ban bake backdoors into encryption protocols, which is never going to end well. To me, this feels like I think that you're not going to stop it because at the end of the day, some things like a mobile phone or a laptop with Kali installed are going to be more powerful, more capable than a Flipper Zero anyway. And you've also got the problem of things just like simple relay attacks. So there's loads of videos out there with people walking around with sort of aerials on the back. You get near your key, the key fob that's kind of the other side of the house door or whatever. That's why they always say nowadays put your key away from your front door, put it in like a metal pouch kind of thing. Yeah, I've seen crazy videos, people driving off with Rolls Royces and things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't really know where this is coming from, this kind of statement. It seems a bit random to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Eric says, remember all the stories from last year where you could hijack Kias with the USB cables? I do remember that, and I don't know whatever came of that. I remember there being something about Kia doing some kind of like emergency recall or something, maybe. But yeah, and that kind of brings me to the other point. It's like you see all these videos of people doing things, but how do we know if these are legit? I guess if the manufacturer comes out and is like, yeah, there's a recall on that, or we we got to do something about that.
It's the rival car company just
yeah,
putting out some hate.
yeah, it was Hyundai.
No, I think it's quite interesting. I think all the things around the Teslas and going sort of fully fully electric, that's an interesting debate because the more reliance we put on technology, we've already seen like compromises of old vehicles where you could get full control. To me, that scares me more. And I just think, how incentivized are manufacturers to actually fix this? They'll be like, well, how many cars are actually going to get stolen? What's the reputational damage? Is it worth spending tons of money on software? Or do we just take a little hit on a few vehicles getting stolen?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. When you think about these like massive companies and how they think of everything in like dollars, because I know there's been instances where there's like safety recalls and they'll actually measure like, yeah, well, if like 5 people die, what's that going to cost us versus like if we have to recall all these vehicles? So there's actually people sitting in a room debating over dollars about which option to take, even when it comes down to like people dying, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, like you said, the more things that become software open to hacking, and I know it was a big thing when like smart houses started getting popular, and I know a lot of people who have just like everything's controlled via an app in their house. I am not going to pretend like I'm some kind of like, oh, I haven't done that because I don't want to get hacked for I don't see the appeal of having everything smartified in your house. So I'm kind of on this like halfway being lazy, don't want to switch everything out, halfway don't really care to. So I mean, I guess it's cooler to say, yeah, I don't run a smart home. That's not secure. Ha. But
No, I'm glad you sort of said that because I'm yet to get onto Home Assistant. So I do use Home Assistant. I do use some home automation, but I've got a similar approach. There's no way I'm going to have a smart door lock or anything like that. I'll just keep the trusty key. I do have things like light bulbs and things. I have some cameras, etc. But that's kind of the extent of it. I just don't think the technology is robust enough yet. I think you've got a lot of sort of spurious manufacturers, and as someone who works in security, I've always got a bit of a tinfoil hat on as to where this stuff comes from. Lots of the old protocols just aren't secure, weren't designed to be secure, and again, how easy is it to patch these little IoT devices that are made for a couple of dollars kind of thing? It's just not feasible. And then you get onto the whole green of it, which I don't think the credentials are quite there yet.
yeah, it's everyone's daily reminder. Put your IoT devices in their own VLAN, okay? Because they're not always as secure as you may think they are. So, actually, it's funny. I did a video on like my networking walkthrough, and I got I had a feeling I was going to get these two comments. One was, you have too many VLANs, and one was, you don't have enough VLANs. And I was like, I think I have the perfect amount. I think I have the amount that I need to have. But I've seen the people who are like, everything needs a VLAN. Like, your IoT devices need a VLAN, your cameras need a VLAN, your personal machines need a VLAN, your work needs a VLAN, your new devices need a VLAN, your guests need. I'm like, relax, relax. So where do you stand on that scale?
So I think probably 99% of the world don't have a VLAN at home. They're just on the base subnet. For myself, I work in security, right? So I have probably 7 VLANs, something like that. Basically halfway house, I would say. I don't go to the extreme. It's not like I have one device per VLAN, but I think I take sensible precautions, put IoT devices on their own VLAN. I put things in my DMZ on their own VLAN. My NAS, which basically houses most of my secure data, is on its own VLAN. Trying to think what else I've got. Phones and physical computers, laptops, those go, even though they're both sort of trusted, I still put them on a different VLAN. And then I basically have my sort of uber trusted admin VLAN, where all the management planes go on there.
What is your firewall of choice?
So I use Sophos XG. I've got that in an HA setup. So I did have a UDM Pro. Didn't like it because it didn't work as advertised. If you tried to do any inter-VLAN routing on it, the speed was terrible.
So, that's something that came up in my video, and something I'd noticed before, where they advertise them as layer 3 switches, but they don't have any real like layer 3, like you can't do ACLs and like routing specifically at the layer 3 level. You can turn it on for like all inter VLAN communication, but you can't set specific rules like you can at the firewall level. So all the traffic, if it's going from one VLAN to another, has to go all the way up to your UDM Pro and then all the way back down, which I figured out after realizing like certain switches were connected at a 1 gig link instead of 10. So now all my switches have 10 gig links. So when they have to traverse up and down that tree, they can get there as fast as possible. But I wish they were true L3 switches, but I guess they'd be way more expensive at that point because
most likely
horsepower.
One of the key things for me was high availability as well, because I'm always breaking things, and I have basically 2 nodes. So it means now I can take down a whole node, I can physically put new hardware in, patch it, update it, turn it off, etc. And everything will fail over, and that gives me sort of big thumbs up from the wife and the rest of the family, because it doesn't break the internet for them.
Yeah, true story. I had a UniFi update, and I randomly woke up in bed like at 3 a.m. last night, and I rolled over and I was like, this is probably a good time to do my my network update.
Yeah.
So I went into the UniFi app and clicked update and went back to sleep. So those are how I do my my network updates.
Yeah,
when
I must say
casually wake up.
I do use their access points. I do use their switches. They've been really good for me. I've really enjoyed using them. They're dead simple to use. It's just, and I don't know why they do it, because they're always hungry for new products. If they brought out another or HA capability, there's probably a decent portion of people that are going to go and buy another UDM.
Yeah, I'm an advocate for everyone in the stream right now going out and buying one with my affiliate link.
Yeah.
Go to my UniFi video, watch it in its entirety, like it, and then use my affiliate link to go buy like $10,000 worth of UniFi gear. But no, I'm very open to like whatever people like to use. I mean, I have an affiliate through UniFi, but I'm not like they don't sponsor anything. So I think PFSense is a much better firewall than a UDM Pro. And that's what I used to run. But I had so many UniFi access points and switches that I was like, you know what, let's try it. If I wasn't a YouTuber or making content, then I probably just would have stuck with it. But I was like, oh, let's dive into it so I can have like a different perspective, because people would come in and be like, well, what do you think about the UDM Pro? Why aren't you running the UDM Pro? I'm like, all right, I'll run it. So that's how I ended up with that.
My key thing was more around. It was back in my time when I was doing a consultant for Big Four, and a lot of firms I went to, certainly in the UK, I saw were using Sophos, and so I thought, right, have they got a home license? Yes, they do. And it was one of those where it's nice and shiny and very simple to use. I have also spent a bit of time with OpenSense, and I've got a video series on that for high availability and all of that. And again, I think I'd echo what you say. It has all the benefits of sort of being Linux under the hood. So if you want to get sort of down and dirty into the nuts and bolts, you can do that. Sophos XG doesn't let you do that for fear of breaking it, but sometimes you can get some really exotic setups like routing whole VLANs, subnets over VPNs, etc., which is powerful, and the Sophos XG doesn't do.
Yeah. No, I'm the networking is one of those things where I've run into this issue from making content, is where I'm in a situation where I want to try other things like extensively to get like a good grasp on them. But in terms of networking, if you want to use it, like actually use it, you can only really run one network. Like I can't run like a full UniFi UDM Pro and also run like PFSense as a firewall and also run like Sophos, also run all these others. Like you can kind of only have one if you want to actually use it extensively in your house. Yeah. So I'm kind of like, I'm sticking with this now. So I don't really have much experience in anything outside of like PFSense and UniFi. So I'd like to get into those other ones, but I'm kind of stuck at this point. But
I think I'd also love to use some what I'd coin proper enterprise. So you're like your Paolos and your Ciscos, but kind of just unobtainable for certainly a YouTuber like me anyway.
I had someone hook me up with a HP switch that's 48 10 gig ports. It's like this crazy 1U enterprise switch that only works with their like CLI. There's no management interface. So I was talking to the guy who hooked me up, and I was like, I like this thing, but I don't know if I have the patience and time to setting it all up and dealing with this. I'm used to like
you can only use VI
a network UI. Like I so it's kind of just sitting there waiting for me to get bored enough or motivated enough to dive into it. But it's a crazy switch. I'd like to be able to use it. It's also crazy loud. But
I was just about to say, I could probably hear it from here. Yeah,
it's a loud boy, and my rack is in my garage, but my wife's office is right on the other side of the door. And I turned it on, and I went in there. I was like, yeah, she's not going to buy this. She's not going to like this. Yeah. So maybe one day. Maybe I'll put some more sound dampening in there. But yeah, we'll see. What was the other? Oh, so we had the other topic that was similar kind of field as the flipper, where what was it? Let me pull it up.
It was the BitLocker TPM's been apparently broken.
Yeah, let me pull up that article because that doesn't sound good at all. Where's the link? World's best live streamer right here. Got everything prepared and ready to go, 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
oh, it's a YouTube video. Okay.
There must be a lot of. I mean, there are now articles. I think it was first posted on YouTube, but there's now a lot of articles on it.
Let me use this keyboard because this keyboard sucks. BitLocker broken. It was with like a Raspberry Pi Pico, huh?
Yeah, I think that's the salient point. Sort of the barriers to entry on this is a $10 Raspberry Pico,
Yeah,
and I think a lot of businesses place a lot of faith into BitLocker and having drive encryption. So, oh yeah, we don't care about our lost device because no one can access it. But if this turns out to be true, yeah, that's going to need a rethink and a lot of new hardware.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that just shows you, just because Microsoft's one of the biggest companies in the entire world doesn't mean that everything is properly and secure and not hackable. Like, I'm sure there was a lot of work that this dude went into to get this done. And I mean, if it were that easy, this would have been done forever ago. But I mean, there are security holes in everything. Nothing's 100% secure. So the fact that someone can take such an accessible device and break the encryption for something that is possibly affected millions and millions of devices is absolutely insane. Did Microsoft or did they say anything about this, or
I haven't heard anything. I think this video only came out sort of a couple of days ago, so they're probably in damage
I would
control.
not want to be.
Yeah,
I would not want to be anywhere near.
Especially if you kind of remember, Windows 11 was all but mandated that you needed the TPM module. And so a lot of businesses will have gone out and purchased these specifically. A lot of people, home users, many people probably don't use BitLocker, but it's certainly forced down you with the TPM anyway.
Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. So I guess we'll see how this story unfolds, but that is not a good look at all. Because I mean, I know a lot of people. It's a lot different in the home lab community because people in the home lab community are much more aware of current security breaches and just security in general. But the average person, do you think they're even going to hear about this? Probably not. I mean, there's no way I don't think this is making like mainstream media. This isn't something that average person is going to see. But like you're saying, I don't think the average person's using BitLocker on their personal device. So I don't know. I mean, it's a huge story.
I think it's going to be, I think it's mainly going to be an enterprise issue. I think, like you say, that the risk to home users forgetting their BitLocker key when they lose their laptop and then they've lost everything, or they forget the password and want to recover the data. I think this is definitely more. I think there'll be a lot of enterprise risk discussions going on right now. Reevaluating risk registers and exposure. I think this is one certainly just for my day job I'll be keeping tabs on. I'll really want to sort of scratch the surface on this and see how credible it is. And I do expect there to be a Microsoft statement on this soon. Yeah,
I'm always so interested about these security breaches and security in general, but I don't work in that field. So anytime something comes out, it's always just like way over my head. And I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting, but I don't do enough with that to where it's like something I can dive into and really understand. So I mean, I can tell this is massive, obviously, but for me, I'm like, man, I almost wish I worked in security so that I could like get more involved with it because a lot of it seems so interesting compared to like before I did home labbing. I thought it was the most boring, like mind-numbing shit ever, but now I'm actually invested.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of this stuff all the time when it comes to sort of your older Spectre and Meltdown stuff that was out, say, a few years ago. They released sort of firmware updates for your BIOS updates, etc., that basically crippled the performance of your CPU, but it kind of did fix the vulnerability. I think it's to do with the speculative memory or trying to kind of guess what's coming.
Yeah.
And you can kind of risk accept some of that stuff because you go, well, we've got strong physical controls on our data center. But this, when everyone's in a post-COVID world where you've probably got half the business on user laptops that are now at home, if this is a credible attack vector, it's quite scary. I think I saw someone in chat say that this was linked to a specific model of motherboard, which if that's the case, that's a much better position, albeit maybe there's something that can be reverse engineered from that for other attacks. I don't know.
Yeah, it only works on this laptop model with the exposed pads. So, yeah, and someone else said even if the pads are not exposed, you can still tap the traces.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If the only barrier is you might have to do a bit of desoldering or whatever.
Yeah, but if someone's that into this, I'm sure
exactly.
they don't mind tapping into the
exactly.
traces of the motherboard. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's pretty big. But I saw a message here that you're gonna have to speak on this one. George says, or Jorge, or George says, working in security is overrated. What do you have to say about that, Mr. Security Man?
Well, I work in financial services, so I think anybody who values actually having money, sustainable income, bank accounts, having a pension, etc. I think, unfortunately, in the world we live in, I wish this job didn't exist. But I can tell you it's a very scary world out there. And there's a lot of people trying to get what you have, not necessarily talking as an individual, but as an organization, certainly a large organization. Yeah, unfortunately, it's probably financial crime is probably one of the biggest attacks out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the end goal for doing this stuff is to get money, so why not just go directly to the financial institutions?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I can imagine the
I don't work
security
at
in that
Lloyd's,
is-
no.
So okay, do I refer to you by Jim or do I call you James? What do you prefer?
Everybody calls me James. That's why I set the
Okay,
channel up to be Jim.
I will.
But
So
you can call me whatever you want. I'm the old
I'll call you James. Like I've made it a habit of asking people what they like to be called because once I have a name for someone in my head, like I can't change it. Like
In the UK, you hit Jim when you're about 50, and I'm not quite there yet.
okay, so you have to like sign the official documents, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that going into effect. Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah, that's pretty big. Do you want to dive into the fun part of the stream where we get to piss people off? Yeah, okay, this will be so guys, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna rank everyone's favorite or least favorite server OSs. Let me change this here. I'll share it. So here we go. I'm going to change this tier to F because if you're past C, it's a fail. It's like my engineering classes back in the day. If you get lower than C, you're done. So we have S tier. So, okay, let me go over the ones we have. We have just pure Linux, whatever flavor you want. Debian, Hannah Montana, whatever. Proxmox, TrueNAS. This is like a 2-for-1 scale or core. We'll debate them either way. XCP-ng, OpenMediaVault, VMware, ESXi, Windows. I know this is a Windows 11 logo, all right, relax. Windows Server or Windows 11, we can argue for both. Who cares? It's my stream. I can make the rules. Synology, and this is kind of a catch-all for just like off the shelf, like running on a NAS type thing, and Unraid. So when we're talking about tiers, S is like, no one can convince me otherwise that this is not the greatest OS to use. A is like, yes, it's good. It's probably close to the best, but there's some things I don't like about it. B is like, yeah, it's fine. It's usable. C is like, okay, I wouldn't use it. I don't think you should use it. But if you're using it, then that's fine, I guess. I'm going to judge you a little bit. And F is like, if you're using this, then I'm not going to ever associate myself with you ever again. Oh, Nutanix. I don't have that on my list. I've never used it. I'm only putting ones on here that I've personally used, even if for a little bit. So I may be missing some. Don't worry. But, oh yeah, we can do polls for this. That will be interesting. But you guys' votes won't. They'll matter in tiebreak. But me and James are going to be the deciders here. So where do you want to start? I'll give you first pick of where you want to start.
I'll start with Linux.
Pure Linux. Okay, let me throw up. Let me see if I can. I said let me throw up. I'm not actually gonna throw. Let me throw up a poll in the chat. I'm not actually gonna throw up. Can I do that through StreamYard or do I have to do it through YouTube? Let me see. I think I have to do it through YouTube. Add. Start a poll. Okay, so the poll is going to be purebred Linux. All right, so you have the choice of S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and F. Oh wait, can I? I can only do.
I think you can only do 4.
I can only do 4. Okay,
if it's below C, we'll count as a fail.
Yeah, we'll do below C. Okay. So this, okay, guys, this isn't like what do you think is the best to? This is like for home labbing. Let me make that clear. All right. So go ahead. I think I start. Oh wait, did I close it out? Can you guys see the vote? Oh, it should be up there. Okay. So the vote is live. Y'all are S-tiering Linux? All right, James, what's your?
The audience is correct. That is S tier.
You're S-tiering?
Absolutely.
Straight, just like vanilla Linux.
Yep.
Okay. Man,
well, I probably should have asked more questions around how we're voting this, because to me, pretty much everything I use is Linux under the hood. It just might have a fancy wrapper on it. But at the end of the day, all of my VMs, all of my LXCs are Linux. So to me, it has to be S tier.
This is like if you were going to host something like in your home lab and someone gave you a machine, what are you installing on it? In that order, you would say Linux is
fine,
S.
I see.
So this is just pure, like, I'm not saying because like Proxmox is Debian based, like Scale is Debian based, all running on Linux. But this is like pure,
fine, I
like
see,
Ubuntu
just
server. Yeah. You're going.
Yeah, I'd probably B or C.
Okay. Yeah, that's more. Let's see. Let me pull up. Let me see what the chat thinks. Yeah, I need another monitor here. I'm gonna slide this over. You guys are still on S. You guys are crazy. Y'all think pure Linux is S tier? Y'all are tripping, bro. Okay. So if you guys, 42% of you guys out there, when you're given a server, you're going to run just like a standard Linux distro on it. And that's it to host your stuff. Y'all are lying. You guys are lying. And because you're lying, I think it is C. I think I would, if you're using just Linux to host your stuff in your home lab, I'd be like, that's kind of, why wouldn't you just use something a little bit better with a nice UI to like make things a lot easier? But I mean, I could see it. I'm going to see.
I agree with
Fight
that.
me. Yeah, I think you guys are tripping. Okay, we're gonna end the poll there. You guys, 40% S. No, this is just vanilla. Okay, maybe we'll do better with the next one. I'll give you guys a mulligan. Because you guys are silly. All right, next one. Let's go into Unraid. This one I feel like is I feel like a lot of people like Unraid. I'll give my perspective. I think Unraid. Oh wait, I gotta make the. Can my mods? Can you guys make polls? Because like, if you guys could do that, that would be tight. Mr. Allen, is it possible for mods to make polls? If so, can we run one on Unraid? But I'll give you guys time to think about that. Oh, you don't think so? Damn, that's inconvenient. All right. Unraid. Let me put that in the chat. So while I'm doing this, I'll give my perspective. I think Unraid is actually great. And it depends on who you're talking to, because if you're like some home lab, like connoisseur elitist, and you don't like the way Unraid handles RAID and blah, 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 I get it. But for like a lot of people, I think Unraid's pretty freaking impressive. Just the pure ability. I don't care if it's like not standard RAID, but the ability to take drives of mismatched sizes and be able to just consolidate them into a usable array is pretty freaking sweet. Their interface is nice. The community is extremely active. I'd give it. I'm at an A, but you have to buy it with money. So I'm between A and B. Where are we at?
I'll have to hold my hand up. I've never used it, and I think
Oh, really?
it's because of what you mentioned. I looked at things and I thought, well, Proxmox pretty much does everything, and it's free. And in terms of the support, I found it was a lot better. It was a lot more popular in the home lab scene. I'll probably get crucified, but I always consider sort of Unraid to be more. It's kind of like having an off-the-shelf at home, but without buying the physical unit. It feels like you've got kind of a thing that you can buy and get some support around. It's nicely packaged. It's kind of very simple, GUI driven. You don't have to go under the hood too much. And I think for certain people or what they want, I think it's a great solution. I think if you want something a bit more home labby tinkery, it's not quite there with Proxmox.
Yeah. Now, Gromit says, I think the premise is a bit skewed here. Prox for the server, Unraid for the media, and Debian or Windows 11 for the clients. No, I get that. This isn't a perfect, like, thing we're doing here. It's for entertainment. So if I rank something lower than you think or higher than you think, I'm sorry. I'll pay for your counseling.
I'm
not actually going to do that.
You picked an emotive topic here.
Yeah, no, I am aware. So I think. Oh wait, I haven't checked the. I'll see what the audience thinks. Oh, come on. Not that I care what you guys think. This isn't a democracy. This is my stream. It's a dictatorship. I'm kidding. I care what you guys think. B, man, solid B. 55% have said that it's a B tier. Okay, I was between A and B. I'll give you guys. I'll give you guys the go here. All right, B tier. Unraid is B tier. Okay. All right, it's your turn.
I've already spoken about Proxmox, so I know what that's like. I'm going to go with TrueNAS. And did you say, is this scale or is it core?
We can, okay, I'll do this. I'll go into my icons and we'll pull up TrueNAS core.
I think Well, I only use them for. I actually use TrueNAS Scale, um, and I don't really use any of the features. Now, the reason I did that was because I'd used Core for so long. I wanted to test out Scale. It was
Whoops.
a simple one-click migration,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to play around with some of the hell maps and stuff, which was cool. And I almost felt like this feels like where they're going to go anyway, so I want to get ahead of the curve. But as a NAS, for a home lab or small medium enterprise, I think it's a great product.
Okay, so we're
I
going to
would put it,
specifically, we're going to do TrueNAS scale. We're going to say this one is concerning TrueNAS scale.
yeah.
Um,
So this is the whole package, isn't it? Is it? It's kind
this
of
is this is from a home labber's perspective. Where do you, how do you
yeah,
rank the hardware? I mean, it's very vague. It's up to
yeah.
interpretation. Again, this isn't this list isn't like being forwarded to the Linux elites, and we're not going to get
I'm
killed
I'm
for
I'm
it. I
gonna
hope.
go with I'm gonna go with A. I think for a home lab NAS, I would say it's an S. I think for an overall package where you're going to be hosting applications, running things, and having a NAS baked in, I'd probably say bump it down to an A.
Okay, let me hit up this. Oh, this keyboard is so ass.
There's
Oh my
so
god.
I see so many issues with the sort of Kubernetes deployment on it as well, and
I was going to mention that. Yeah, that's a
yeah,
good point. Let
I
me.
wouldn't, I don't want to run Kubernetes on the same machine as my NAS.
Okay,
I
so
know people
TrueNAS
do.
scale. Would
I'll
you
go
would
for
you
A.
rank it?
A.
You went with A. Okay. I love TrueNAS. I personally run TrueNAS Core on my NAS because that's all it runs. And running jails and any type of virtualization in FreeBSD is butt cheeks. So I don't use scale on a day-to-day basis. I have a test or a like a just a version spun up just to mess around with. And it's good. I mean, you get the TrueNAS experience as a NAS, and obviously they transitioned to Linux for a couple of reasons. It being more easier to support long term, it having a better application virtualization layer to work off of, and for as the name suggests, scalability, which is why they included everything to run on a single node Kubernetes cluster, which I absolutely hate. I mean, I run Kubernetes in my home lab, but I am very well aware that is not for everybody. And I really wish, I know it's not feasible, but I almost wish they transition to kind of like something XCP-ng is doing, where they have a light version. So XCP-ng Lite comes with the management interface and the actual application hypervisor
They're
interface
decoupled, aren't
built
they?
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's meant to be run as a single instance. TrueNAS Scale kind of deploys in the idea that you're going to be scaling it out, which is why it runs a Kubernetes cluster. It's designed to run multiple versions of it, which I get. It makes sense for an enterprise. It's easy to do. But for a home labber who just wants to run a single instance of TrueNAS and spin up their apps using, like everyone uses, a lot of people use Portainer with Docker and Docker Compose. It's not that easy because you have to delve into Kubernetes and run everything through YAMLs and their integrated app store. So it's not as intuitive as I'd like, which is why. Oh, what are you guys saying in the chat? Let's see. A, 48% A, 21% S tier, 24% B tier. I might catch some flack for this, but I'm going. No, I got. I'm ranking this against Unraid. God, this is hard. This is harder than I thought it was going to be. You gave it A.
Yeah, I was having
Okay,
to like
let's go with
juggle
it.
three things in my
Okay.
head.
Yeah, we'll go with A. I think it's a solid A. I think you guys are right in the chat. For its downfall. Wait, can you guys see the ranking that I'm putting up? Is that on the screen? Okay. Okay. The stream I'm looking at on YouTube when I check the poll is like super behind, I guess. But you guys can see the rankings, right? I hope. Yes. Okay, good. I don't know why YouTube is showing that's a different screen. Okay. TrueNAS scale is officially an A tier server OS, server home lab OS, whatever the shit we're calling this. All right, I'm up next. OpenMediaVault. What's your experience with OpenMediaVault?
I haven't used it.
Really? Okay. Let me put this in the chat for everyone. I'll speak on OpenMediaVault in my experience.
I see a lot of people with problems in my chat, and I say, well, I don't do videos on it, and I've never used it, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's kind of thing when you create content. People come in like, oh, what do you think compared to this? Well, if I haven't used it, I'm sorry, but just because I made a video on one thing doesn't mean I'm an expert on everything in that field.
I almost feel like with this, it's kind of, why go against the status quo? Because I don't think the barrier to entry on things like TrueNAS is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this is for you to run.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what chat says. So my let me pull this back up. So we're on OpenMediaVault. Let's just get out there and say OpenMediaVault's interface is pretty bad. It looks like something from the early 2000s, mid 2000s, or like a free bootstrap template you find on the internet. It's convoluted, takes a zillion clicks down into the menus to do anything. Every time you make a change, you have to wait like 5 seconds for the pop-up to come up at the top and say, are you sure you want to change this? Which is extremely annoying. They recently changed the way they handle containerization. It used to be you had to download a plugin, which then kind of activated Docker and used Portainer by default. But they changed it to not use Portainer anymore, and it's like a different way of getting Docker running. It's kind of a mess. But the big thing is that you can run it on a Raspberry Pi. So I really like the fact that it's so easy and lightweight to get up and running. Like if you're looking to spin up like a super lightweight NAS with like basic NFS or Samba sharing, it's not bad. If you're looking at it as a server OS replacement to do any type of virtualization, it doesn't support any native like spinning up VMs or anything. It's not great. So I'm kind of sitting at C tier.
I was going to say, you haven't sold me.
Yeah, no, it's the only thing that's keeping it from being F tier is its ability to be lightweight enough to run on minimal hardware. Like if you're going to set up a Raspberry Pi NAS, I would suggest doing something like OpenMediaVault. Martin says, I found manually configuring Samba easier than using OpenMediaVault. I mean, yeah, it's like install Samba, modify the config file, add a share, done. So I get that. I'm curious to see what and where the voting has led us. Let me see.
I also find I've kind of got a tolerance dependent on how new you are to this stuff. Like if most of my videos are kind of sequential, so they kind of follow on and build. So I think if you're starting off at the beginning of your journey, then OMV might be a great choice. It might be super simple. It gets you into a position where you go, hey, I've got my first NAS. I never had that the other day. And then actually once you're bedded in, you feel comfortable, you're ready to take the next step. So yeah, maybe that C again feels about right. Maybe it's not terrible.
So the chat is overwhelmingly C or lower, 71%. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to say, is it C or F? So now I'm curious. You guys, let me start the poll. So OMV again. Now you get the option of, is it C or is it F?
I guess my question would be, and granted I've never used it, is it significantly easier than using TrueNAS, and is it significantly lighter?
So the benefit you get from OMV is you're not running ZFS, which everyone knows is a bit more resource heavy, depending if you're using it optimally. You're just running like ButterFS on OpenMediaVault, which is still a cow system. You still get like snapshots and everything. It's fine, but like I said, it's good for a lightweight system.
Yeah.
But if you're running, like, I really like it for Raspberry Pis, which is why I can't, in good conscience, give it an F, because it's really good for that use case. And I know it's popular. People really like doing low power builds, and what's the lowest power I can draw while running a NAS, and I think it's decent for that. But outside of that use case, I don't see a good reason to use it. So I want to see what people say, what we got going. Okay, so people are saying C, 61% C, 30% F, and nearly 10% are perverts that like to use OMV. Okay, noted. You guys are banned. You're all banned. Actually,
Yeah,
I'm tracking.
I'm erring on a C. I think that's
Yeah,
where my
okay.
head was at.
We'll go C. We'll go C. Again, you guys are right. You guys are so smart. Let's change it to a C, or let's put it to a C. Was that on Okay. All right. You're up.
I'm going to go for Synology.
Synology, okay. So this is got the Synology logo, but we can argue if we want it to be kind of an off-the-shelf NAS solution. Because again, the rules aren't real on this. So
I'm going to light the chat up probably, and I'm going to go with an F. But
F.
I have rationale.
Okay.
To me,
Okay,
this is home lab, right? So
Okay.
this is DIY. This is learning. I think for mum and dad, it's a great solution. I think for us as tech enthusiasts wanting to do it, I don't see, again, it comes down to that Unraid. Why do I want to spend money on it? I don't really get to choose sort of the underlying hardware too much. So I've got to basically pay for software and I've got to pay for hardware. Whereas I could build something much cheaper, more performant, kind of the conversation we had before we went on air. It feels like a much better solution. Plus, any patching and stuff, you've usually got to wait a long time to get that done. There's loads of vulnerabilities for remote access and all that kind of stuff. I just don't see the attraction of it. Once you've kind of flown the nest, for a home labber, it doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, so we have an F. I'm curious to see what chat says. They're kicking it off with C or lower. Okay, I'm about to mix it up again. I'm going A tier.
Okay.
I'm going A tier for this. I think that the off-the-shelf area has kind of transitioned from this deploy this and we're just going to have a UI to where you can spin up like a Samba share and offer it as a NAS to this, like, if you've used Synologies, you've used QNAPs, you've used ASA stores, they're seemingly going down this, okay, well, we are trying to get into the home lab market where we are offering in our app store so many different ways to spin up shares, host your surveillance system, spin up Docker containers, do virtualization. I know the Synology or ASA store, I think, uses virtual. It might be QNAP that uses VirtualBox. It's like a PHP version, so it kind of sucks, but it's there. Into this kind of, you still get enough flexibility to self-host things. I get where you're coming from. Absolutely. If you're into home labbing, it's much more fun to do it yourself. But I feel like the tools that some of these off-the-shelf devices are starting to give us are actually pretty good. And I use Synology as my backup system, as my remote system, and it is just so seamless to. I use TrueNAS as my main one. I use rsync to get it to my Synology, and Synology I just run their like built-in tool that just offloads shit and gives me like timestamps of each replication. I can click on each one and browse through it, and I'm like, man, this is nice. If it wasn't that nice, I'd probably lean more to the lower, like C to F tier. But man, I like it. So we're at a crossroads here.
So my experience was, I think to some of the people in chat, I started off with, I'm trying to remember what it was. It's the white 2-bay Synology NAS, and I had that about 8 years ago. And it was just slow, sluggish. It kind of did a bit of a UniFi. It said it did all of this stuff, but if you actually tried to do anything in parallel, it would just kill it. So I probably bought the bottom end of their tiering, and that should be in line with expectations. But it sounds like from what you said, it's kind of improved significantly. Now, I think my head is still in the place of I could do all that for much cheaper, and I could fully customize it. I'd have a lot more money left over for what I want to do in my lab. I could buy a 10 gig card off eBay, that kind of stuff. I've got multiple PCIe lanes, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I'm probably a little bit out of date, so maybe not quite an F.
No, I mean, there's no wrong answers. I mean, if everyone thought the same exact thing, this shit would be boring. So different perspectives are awesome. And whatever you use here, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I think it's an F.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if James thinks it's an F. It doesn't matter if chat thinks it's an F. If you like using it, who gives a shit? But
I'm not going above C. I'm not going above C.
Okay, no, that's fair. Ken says hardware tax is too high, and I see a lot of people saying price. That's a big factor. That's one of the major factors when it comes to picking out home lab gear, and it's something I addressed in my 45 drives HL15 video. Is that it's hard to break into the home lab market as a larger company or with kind of new or premium products, because a lot of the home lab community is built off of finding that cheap deal or using older hardware and repurposing it. So to come in with both a new product and a premium product is extremely difficult because the market's already niche, and then you're targeting a niche of a niche. And I think these off-the-shelf NASs are kind of in this weird spot where they're catering towards not home labbers, like your moms and dads who want like somewhere to have a safe place to store their photos and whatever. And now they're trying to transition to this like also, hey, but check it out, we can also host all these cool apps with our integrated Docker application. So they're in this, I think, this weird kind of spot in the middle that I actually enjoy, which is why I rate it so high. But I get why people rate it lower, especially because you're paying the convenience tax, is what I'd refer to it as, as having everything built and ready for you to go, and with all these features right out of the box, and with the support of a large company like that. So I'm going A. You're at C. Chat is at, where's chat at? Where are you guys at? You guys are at C or lower, 43% C or lower, 26% A, 26% B. Well, meet in the middle and say it's B. How about that?
We'll shake on it.
Okay. All right.
I think for me, you brought up the sort of the 45 drives, and to me that's a good analogy. I was really excited for that but I knew it was going to be expensive, and then when it came out and confirmed it was expensive, it kind of burst that excitement instantly. But I think to your point, it's a new product to a new market. Even though they're a company, they're still going to have to pay the Intel tax. There's still just fundamentals that once you start getting server equipment, it just isn't cheap. And I think that's a really difficult sell. I don't know what it would take for them to sort of sweeten that and make it an attractive proposition.
Are you talking about
Maybe
HL15 or Synology?
sorry, the HL15.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think I was excited for it, but again, it's just the price just didn't make sense to me.
No, I'm on board with that. I agree 100% that I said multiple times in the video, this isn't for everybody. This isn't the
Yeah.
affordable kind this is a premium product. And when I've talked to people at 45 Drives, they're like, yeah, we know it's a premium product. We know it's not going to be for everybody. We're well aware of that. And from their perspective, they're not a massive company. They're not to where they can dive into this new market with a brand new product and it out of the gate being just undercutting all these major companies that have been making chassis for like affordable chassis for years. So I get it. I'd like to see them come out in the next few years with a cheaper version. And I know they're actively working on different models and different types. But yeah, no, I agree. It's expensive. It's not for everybody. It is nice, but yeah, it's like I said, it's hard to get into that home lab market with a new product and a premium product. So they're kind of up against the wall with that. And I fully get that a lot of people think it's too much. So let's see.
You're up on you.
I want to see. It says, honestly, the HL15 is not a bad value purchase. $2K for a complete system is fairly competitive compared to getting a used enterprise server in this shelf and the boatload of drives. So that's the thing. If you're comparing it, it depends on how you look at it. If you look at the HL15 as a replacement for what like a business would go out and spend on a storage server, $2,000 is nothing.
I agree.
But they weren't marketing businesses. I mean, it's hard because the home lab kind of walks this fine line between power users at home versus like small businesses. There's a very big like overlap for those markets. So I think that's what they were kind of targeting, this like power user with money to spend in the home lab versus like smaller businesses that don't want to go out to Supermicro or whoever and spend, 5 digits on a storage server. So I get where they're trying to market. It's not as easy or as sexy for myself as a content creator and come out and like say, oh, go buy this, which I fully said, like, it's expensive. I get it. But I think it's a nice piece of hardware. So we'll see what they come up with next. But I'm confident that they'll come up with some cool stuff.
Is the 15 the smallest they do? They don't do like an 8 or anything?
No. Yeah, 15 is the smallest. In terms of home lab, they've showed off some like prototypes for some smaller ones, some ones that can do hybrid between flash storage.
I was going to say 15 is probably big for most users, even home labbers.
And it's funny because when it came out with 15, people were like, "Oh, only 15? Yeah, I wanted 45. Like 30." It's like, dude, you're not gonna please everybody. So we'll leave that be. We'll leave that for another discussion. So I guess it's my turn. I'm gonna go for it. Let's Proxmox.
The big guns.
The big guns. Do you want to give your perspective, or do you want me to go first?
S, end of discussion.
I think it's got to be S tier. I mean, I don't think it's perfect. I think it's as close to perfect as you're gonna get with a. Oh, I gotta make the chat. How come mods can't do this, man? Mods can't make polls. What am I paying you guys for?
Yeah, my take on it is it's not VMware, it's not ESXi minus the takeover drama that's happened. But it's kind of the home labbers toolkit essential to me. It's kind of got the broadest support within the home lab scene. It's got good old trusty Debian under the hood. There's yet to be a problem that hasn't been fixed for me through trial and error, and that isn't locked behind a paywall. So for me, it scratches every itch.
Yeah, it's It's hard to argue against Proxmox being the top. I can argue for it not being perfect. I don't think it's a perfect system. I would like, they have ZFS integration, but they don't have any like, I know it's not a NAS OS. I get it, guys. I know it's not designed to do that, but some like basic, like Samba setup for when I'm trying to do something like easy, or some basic like just sharing features would go a long way. The big one that I keep harping on that I wish they actually had it on their roadmap for probably years now is a integrated host backup solution. Why they don't have that is beyond me. Like they have Proxmox backup server, which is used to back up your virtual machines and your LXCs, but there's
Totally
no
agree.
host backup. Like
Totally agree.
every other system I've used has a host backup. Like, oh, if your system fails, guess what? You have your backup file, redeploy everything, your settings are moved over, you're good to go. It's mind blowing that Proxmox doesn't have this. And I've seen so many, I mean, I have a script running that pretty much backs up my etc folder. And that's,
Have you ever restored it?
I tried and I got my VMs and storage configs back. There were some weird issues for stuff outside that folder because I'd done some custom stuff on my host, which I guess this will be a PSA for anyone using Proxmox. The less you do on the actual host, the better, because remember, there's no host backup. So if you don't touch the host, you can literally just install a new version of Proxmox and just move your VMs over, assuming you have them backed up. But that's one thing I want, man. I really wish they had a host backup solution.
I had exactly the same experience. I thought, right, I'm going to go down this road. I'm going to use it. Got sort of 6 months in when I first tried, so I made loads of errors in the background. Stuff wasn't quite working. Thought, right, I'll reinstall, migrate over. Oh, I can't. Well, I'll give it a try. Yeah, and failed miserably. So ever since then, I should probably revisit it. But it's always been a case of it's probably just quicker and easier to just reinstall, migrate over.
And that's what everyone says, but I'm like, man, I'm in this situation where sometimes I have to do some configs to the host. Like, there are certain like network cards where I have to go in and mess with some specific settings to get these working. Like my Connect X3 with InfiniBand, I had to modify some weird shit to get InfiniBand supported or recognized in Proxmox. And just some little things here and there that if I had to just reinstall from scratch wouldn't be there. And I probably could get back to where I'm at, but it's one of those things where it's like, if I had just a host backup, this would be a non-issue. So it's not perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say that S tier means it's perfect, but I can't argue against it being S tier. Let's see what you guys think.
I wonder if we have a poll that says sort of how many people are using it.
Yeah, 0% said C or lower. I'm proud of you guys. You guys get a golf clap for that.
You don't get kicked off the stream.
Yeah, that one would actually get you banned. 79%. I think this chat's got to be a little biased considering if they've watched your videos
maybe I've got
and
a
my
lot of
videos,
viewers here,
that they probably like Proxmox. So yeah, it's got to be S tier. Easy choice. Why isn't, okay, this is a good one. Let me bring this question up. I need a third monitor.
Is it Jimmy?
Jimmy. Yeah. You want to take that one? Why isn't pass-through enabled by default in Proxmox?
I don't know is the answer. I can only imagine it's because it probably doesn't assume that you've got things like VTD and things like that enabled in your BIOS. So I don't know if if the OS expected that and it wasn't on, whether it would boot properly. I don't know. It's possibly a Linux quirk under the hood. I don't know.
it's easier to just have it off by default because when you're dealing with different virtualization techniques between AMD and Intel and whether it supports IOMMU or not, it can become a mess to just by default assume that all of this is supported. Could they do checks on install and assume things and check things? Maybe, but I think with the documentation they have for pass-through, it's not perfect again. I think probably.
Oh, has it become the Jim's Garage show? Is it just me?
Uh,
I thought I'd hacked you there.
what?
You're back. You're back.
Yeah, my camera just cut off.
Yeah, you left the stream. Kind of your audio went as well.
Yeah. It's running through my Ninja, which is running control my audio as well.
You need to get phone line internet like I've got.
I bet the Ninja overheated. This thing's hot as shit. No, it was the camera that cut off, I think. It might have been the Ninja.
You actually left the whole thing.
I know, yeah. Yeah, I turned it off
oh, right, I see.
Yeah, so, okay. I don't even know what I was talking. Oh, virtualization. Yeah, I think it's just easier for it to be off by default and just have documentation on how to set it up because there's so many different ways to go about it. But yeah, I mean, I'd say half of the issues that I've seen come up and asked in Discord or on YouTube videos are about pass-through, so I know it's a big thing, and people have lots of issues with certain things like network cards and especially GPUs. But I don't know of any other OS that handles it better than Proxmox. Let's put it that way.
I think when I trialed ESXi, it was a lot easier. It was kind of just drop down, click, boom, pass through. There was none of this blacklist the drivers, add it to your grub file, all that kind of stuff. It just kind of worked as long as you had it enabled in the BIOS.
Yeah.
One other thing I think Proxmox isn't great at, and I don't know how others fare, is SRIOV. I don't know if you've done much around that.
I have not. I know vaguely what it does and what it's used for, but personally, I've never had a specific reason to use it.
It was more just, I think you said you got the Mellanox cards as well. Those are the kind of the ones I use, and that supports it. So it was more just almost an exercise of playing around with it, and so you can almost split that device, and it's recognized as multiple devices to pass through to a VM. But that was very much forget the GUI. You've got to go into the CLI, and it was lots and lots and lots of options with probably my fault, but not much success.
Do you know of any OS that has a good interface for?
No, I don't know if it's just the nature of the beast with drivers and things and all of that sort of stuff, whether there's actually embedded support, whether there's protocols it will use. I don't actually know enough about it. I just know that with Proxmox, it wasn't a fun experience.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I know it's definitely not perfect, but it's still got to be S tier.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not accepting any less.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're on the same page there. Okay. 4 left. Where are we going for?
I don't actually know what the second one is. I'll profess my ignorance. What's that one?
VMware? Yes. Oh, that was yeah.
Jeffrey in chat will hate me. He's been trying to convert me for months.
Really?
I'll go VMware.
Okay.
And I'll put my hand up and say I have virtually no experience in the home lab world because I chose Proxmox. I did tinker with it, and I thought it was really impressive. Again, it has the paywall issues, but I think that's offset by its market share. I think in terms of professional use of it and exposure, I think before we sort of entered this cloud-native world, it probably propped up most businesses' back end. And from everything I've seen, the support has always been sort of pretty decent. It's been a robust product, so I would probably say it has to be up there, sort of S or A. I know there's been a drama now with the acquisition.
I I haven't used it much personally. I've gotten the vibe that it's like the Apple of like the server OS world. It's like once you're in, you're kind of like in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
It works really well when you're in there, and people don't usually want to leave once they're in there. But with all the recent drama coming out, and it just seems I can't rank it from a usability perspective because I don't have enough hours and
Yeah, I'm the same.
and experience with it. From what I've heard, I know it's really good. Um, but from a home lab perspective, oh wait, I got to put it in the chat. Sorry guys, I know you're spamming.
Because I know you get is it the VMUG, which is about $200 a year, which basically gives you all the enterprise features or most of them for a home setup.
I haven't looked at the price tiers to be honest.
I think it's 200. I'm sure chat will know.
Why can't I do this? Where's the YouTube? There it is. Oh God, I clicked the wrong thing. Let me make this bowl.
But yeah, in terms of, I think it was Jimmy's question earlier, pass-through was so much easier on ESXi. There was no fiddling around. It was just install, select what you want to pass through, off you go.
This is one I'm curious to see what chat has to say about it because I don't have much experience. So if you guys out there have more experience, feel free to vote on this one because yeah, I'm in the mindset where it sits at like a B because I assume for enterprises and businesses it's probably great, but I'd put it more in that.
I think you've got some camera issues again.
Oh, and I disappeared.
You're back.
Dude, what the hell is going on with my camera?
I don't know. I think for me, on the supportability, it's not as good in the home lab space as Proxmox, just because fewer people use it, and you can't sort of get underneath it.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you get what you're given, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Proxmox is a good example of it being ranked so high because so many people use it, and I don't know if it's like a causation or a causality thing. Like so many people use it because it has good support, or it has good support because so many people use it.
I imagine a lot of their business runs on goodwill and people just giving up free advice. Therefore,
I mean, if you make a good product and it's free, then I guess that's not a bad way to go about it.
Yeah,
I've confirmed it's my camera that shuts off, so I don't know if my camera's overheating. It shouldn't be, but that's interesting. Something I have to look at. Yeah, I'm also running Linux. We'll just blame it on Linux.
That's why it's a C.
Yeah. Let's see. What is chat saying? What do we got there in terms of ranks? B. Okay. Yeah, I'm on board with B. It's probably better if you're asking someone who's been working with it and in the enterprise field. They're probably rank it a lot higher, which I can understand. But for this, again, this is just us ranking it as home labbers. I'll go B. Okay. Why not follow that up with XCP-ng? Have you had any experience with that?
No, I've watched a few videos around it to see if I want to do a video on it. It seems like a great solution, but not for a home lab. It seems too at scale.
It's very much like that, and that's the experience. I did a video about using it in a home lab, and that's the vibe I got from it. It seems like it's something very good if you're deploying like 20 servers.
Yeah.
The separation of the actual server layer from the UI layer is nice. You can run that on just like one system and be able to deploy and manage and cluster all your servers without having to run that UI layer on top and deal with all these different ones. It's really nice. But in terms of just setting up like one system, and I think that falls back to something similar to TrueNAS scale, is where in a home lab, you're not usually looking to scale out a shit ton of servers. You're probably setting up like a single server.
Yeah.
And to XCP-ng's credit, they have released XCP-ng Lite, which I think is a fantastic step towards the home lab community. Whether or not that's what they were specifically trying to do or not, I don't know. Let me put this up and let me make another poll. But what that does is it combines those server layers with the UI layer and turns it more into something like Proxmox, where it's this all-in-one. Oh, God. All right. Sorry, let me delete this. All right, don't ignore that poll. Ignore that one. It turns it into this all-in-one thing that you still get all the good features that came with the enterprise version. Again, it's behind a paywall for a lot of features, but you can compile it yourself. So that's something that's also pretty cool. Like they offer all these enterprise features, but if you want to build it and compile it yourself, you can get everything if you want to do it yourself. So that's kind of cool. So it's kind of behind a paywall, but kind of not. I found the backup and restoration to be fantastic. It was extremely straightforward and easy to use. There's a host backup as well. I haven't gotten into, since it's, I don't even know, I think it's out of beta, because when I messed with XCP-ng Lite, it was in beta, but there were a lot of features that were missing, so it wasn't like a full walkthrough. So I'd be curious to see what Chad has to say. I would put it in its current state, assuming XCP-ng Lite is not out of beta. It's got to go right next to VMware, ESXi. It's got to sit.
I was going to say B. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to sit there until I've had a full experience with the Lite version and the home lab, I guess you can call it, version. I'd be hard pressed to put it over. I'd say it's like a B plus, but we're not getting that technical with it. So
Yeah, I feel like my ignorance, I'm doing it a disservice, so I think I'm going to sit in the middle.
yeah, backup on it is way better than Proxmox. Yeah, I think Proxmox in terms of backing up VMs and LXCs is super straightforward. I've had really good experiences restoring VMs and stuff in Proxmox.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, XCP-ng I'd say is pretty similar. Really straightforward. Host backups, which I'm gonna say it in all my videos until someone over there watches one of my videos and actually, I mean, I'm gonna pull up the roadmap and see if it's still listed there. Let's see, Proxmox.
I think one other nice feature I've had is the migration and live failover in Proxmox. I've always had a good experience with as well.
Let's see, is it still here?
It might be here, but you're not here. You're back again.
Dude, I wonder if my camera's over. I would change it to 1080p. It's outputting to 4K, which probably, I've never had this issue though.
Have you ever done this long before?
Yeah, I've gone like 3.5, 4 hour streams before. So I'm wondering why that's so weird. I gotta mess with it off stream. I was saying that is Proxmox, do they have it on the roadmap? Because it used to be host backups was on the roadmap, and I don't see it anymore. They straight up took it off of the roadmap. the hell is going on? This is so annoying. All right, I'm going to change my output to, let me see if that, let's see if I change, let me see if I change the output to 1080p if it yells at me. Let's see. All right, so James, you can argue for why XCP-ng is a B tier since you have so much. Oh wait, I'm getting a thermal. Well, that makes sense. I have a thermal
Warning.
thing on the screen here. Do I have a fan? I don't. Shit. I mean, I do have a fan,
1080.
but it's over there. Hold on. Watch this.
Just stay there and blow on it.
Don't mind me. I'm the best live streamer around. Where is this fan plugged into? We're gonna plug this into, is it this? I think it's this one. So yeah, anyway, the next one we're gonna do is Windows, and oh, I'm still here. Cool. All right, what are we talking about? What did I miss? Wait, am I not live?
No,
Can we
you
hear
are
it?
live. I think you've
Okay, good.
You've got to stand behind the camera blowing on it for the rest of the stream, I think, to keep it cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this fan working. Okay, guys, we're gonna. In the meantime, I'm gonna let
Doing
you
Windows.
guys. I'm gonna let you guys. So, what did we decide? XCP-ng was B.
Yeah, B.
All right, Windows, the big daddy.
So I've got a bit of a soft spot because it's kind of where I started out with Hyper-V. Until they decided, I think, pretty much to kill Hyper-V on-prem. And now it's in this weird state of, I think it's kind of this Azure hybrid mode. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. For me, it's probably a B at most, just because it was super simple to get a VM up. If you wanted to do anything fancy like hardware pass-through, it was just often flat out no. You had to hack things. You had to go get a PhD in PowerShell. It was really hard work.
Yeah. No, I'm. Let me make this chat right here, and I'll. Okay, the poll is out. Okay, I'm gonna get this fan set up, and I'm gonna talk about my experience with Windows Server, and hopefully my camera doesn't overheat in the meantime. So, with Windows Server, I had this. Well, I work with it a bit for work, my actual 9 to 5, and it's decent when you have a full team available to fix the shit or do the shit that's impossible to do in Windows. But when you don't and you have to set up things yourself, it kind of sucks. And I wanted to do am I still live? I'm live.
Yeah.
I wanted to do like a, is Windows a valid home lab option? So I started doing a video about using Windows in your home lab, and I got to the part where I was setting up Active Directory, and I noped out of there so fast because you had to set up like Active Directory and like your own DNS server, and it was like the worst thing ever. So, okay, we have a fan blowing directly on the camera.
That's good. Can't hear anything.
Live streams, yeah.
It's still silent, so you're okay.
Okay, did you hear any of that?
No, we heard everything, and there's no feedback from the fan, which is great.
All right. Woo! Oh, I'm out of breath. Okay, oh man, Windows is C or lower. Okay, so yeah, to continue on that, I use it a lot in my 9 to 5, and It's fine when you have like a dedicated Windows team supporting the actual servers and you just have to go in and spin up some stuff and like IIS to do like web apps and shit. It works pretty good. Like it's easy to deploy. The remote deploy feature in Windows to deploy an application to a Windows server is fantastic. Straight from Visual Studio, I can compile, build, and deploy an entire web app like in one click. It's fantastic. But in terms of using it as a standalone like hypervisor in a home lab, I get that. What did we say? Like the difference between C and F was C is like, I'm not going to judge you if you're using it, but F is like, don't ever talk to me again. So I wish I had like a D here because I think it's pretty bad for a home labber, but the people that I've talked to that use it are like so into it that they kind of make me like root for it. So it's I I don't know where to put it. I guess I'll have to do I'm gonna do another one. Is it C or F?
To me, it's a bit like Synology. It's kind of, if you just need something basic and quick, it works, and it costs you nothing. And I think that's good. But if you want anything advanced, forget about it.
All right, either C or F. I want to see what the people say. I'm curious. I'd be leaning more towards. This is hard.
Being able to split your GPU is quite nice.
I'm by no means this like Windows hater. I use Windows as a daily driver. Obviously not right now because I'm into this stupid Linux challenge that I decided to do for a month. But I don't mind Windows. Like I'm in this mindset where I get the people who are like, I don't like the feel of it and like the fact that they're like stealing your data or have access to your data. I get that. But on a bigger scale, I'm like, everything I need, I know is going to work on Windows. Like if I know I need this obscure software, or for example, like any editing software I want to use, I know it's going to run well on Windows. My monitor calibration hardware and software, I know is going to run on Windows. It doesn't work on Linux. Like, I just like it for that. But in terms of server, everyone's saying C. All right, we won't put it in F. We'll put it C. That's fair. Okay, guys. You guys, I'm surprised. Usually when you mention anything Windows in the home lab community, you just get like freaking shit on. So
no, I'll back you up on that one. I'm a Windows daily driver, and it's mainly because I just don't have time for stuff not to work. Like
that
home labbing is predominantly breaking and fixing things in Linux, which is great and doesn't impact anything else. When I need to just get stuff done, turn it on and it works. I've got to say, partly because the world's built around Windows. I wish it wasn't, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and that's I was talking to my buddy the other day, and I was like venting about this Linux challenge, and I was just like, man, I get that you can not like Windows, but the people who are coming out and saying that Linux, I know we're getting off the rails. I'm not talking about server OS at this point. I'm talking about my daily driving Linux as a challenge. The people that come out and say Linux is better than Windows, I just don't. It's not. Like for a desktop experience, it's not. Like I don't. And I've asked people like, why do you hate Windows? And the biggest one I've got was like I don't like being advertised to. And I'm just, I mean, if you check all the boxes off at installation, which is annoying as shit, I get that, but I don't know that I've seen a lot of ads in Windows. Maybe I'm just not noticing them.
The start bar is more of a mess than it ever was, and if you use like the default Edge page, which
but
I guess nobody does. Yeah.
yeah,
When I go on my mum's laptop or something, I'm like, "Whoa, what is this horror show?" But anyone
mhm,
who's sort of tech savvy, I don't think it's an issue. I kind of put those people that have almost a biased hatred towards Windows. I put them in the same camp as the absolute diehard open source sort of fanboys that
mhm,
often have an iPhone with closed OS and often can't read code. Like, I
mhm.
get that for some people it's an absolute must. I'm a big fan of open source. I love it. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that runs the world and a lot of stuff I run which is closed source, and it does what I need to do.
Yeah,
I think that the beauty is we've got a choice, right?
yeah. No, and that's yeah. I'll get more into. We'll talk about this in the next verse. We're sitting at the last TrueNAS core ranking we have to give out. So let me
This
put
is the
that last
emotive
one.
one.
Yeah, let me put that in the chat so we can get the last one done. So we did TrueNAS scale. Rank that as an A. Let's do TrueNAS core and see what you guys have to say. So I guess James, what is your experience with core versus scale?
Yeah, so I was on core for probably 3 years before I moved to scale. Nothing but good things to say about it. My use case was strictly as a NAS. I would put it on an A tier, based upon, I don't think it's great for a home lab, but I think it's excellent for a NAS. I know it can do VMs and things. I just prefer to separate the two.
Yeah. I'm in this situation. Yeah, I personally run it, but I'm going to try to not be biased towards this because I recognize that TrueNAS was built off of FreeBSD, and ZFS has been incorporated into FreeBSD for a lot longer, and it's more mature and more supported.
Yeah,
So it runs better, but I think people are seeing that while ZFS got pushed to Linux and it's going to be supported and going forward with TrueNAS Scale, that to kind of be the future of it. And I think Tom Lawrence did a good video on the future of core and everything. And I think to summarize it, I don't want to put words in his mouth or anything, but I think the gist was like, I don't think it's going anywhere.
yeah,
Um, I don't think core was meant to be this home lab thing where you can do all this virtualization. I think obviously jails are natively supported in FreeBSD, so they're there. I don't think it's something like if you came to someone and said, hey, I want a server, I want it to host a file system, I want to share this, I want to set up SMB, NFS, iSCSI, and I want to run, apps on it. I don't think anyone's going to say run TrueNAS Core. And that's for a good reason. There's so many other options, one being TrueNAS Scale. So I think for that reason, and I don't know, I don't have enough experience to know that if ZFS is like at or as good on Linux as it is on FreeBSD yet. So I'm not gonna speak to that, but in terms of usability in a home lab, I don't think I can put it above A. So I'd personally put it at a B because it's an excellent NAS. If you said, hey, what's the best NAS solution purely for a NAS, I'd say TrueNAS Core. But in terms of a home lab, all around OS, I'd have to go B
yeah.
for different reasons than the other ones we've ranked in here, but that's a
Yeah.
whole nother thing.
I think just for people that are listening, on the ZFS for Linux, I think the main gripe around that is RAM usage. I think by default it uses 50% of your RAM. I don't know if there are other issues people are referring to, but that is something that you can edit with one line in a config file that does fix that. But yeah, it should be more obvious, and it shouldn't just swallow 50% of your RAM.
You would think with ZFS being like the most known thing ZFS I think is known for is like using RAM as a cache and like
Yeah,
being RAM dependent. You would think that would be like a major thing in the UI. Like, hey, how much RAM do you want to dedicate to ZFS caching? Yeah, like that. I've never really sat down and thought about like why that's not a thing, but am I silly for thinking that that should be a pretty important thing for
Yeah.
people to easily adjust?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions around slogs and things as well, and caches and how that works.
Oh,
People come from Unraid thinking it works the same way, and it's totally different.
Caching. I'm not even going to pretend to understand it. I've learned
Always up your RAM. Forget about
yeah,
getting an
yeah.
SSD.
Don't if you're wondering if you need more caching or you want your pool to go faster, just upgrade your RAM. If you can't do it, then do some extensive research on the different caching. So the ARC, the slog, and the metadata or the special dev. They all do different things. They all do things very differently. So I do some research on that, but you would think, going back to that, I got to know is there a good reason for them not including some basic, like, this is how much RAM I'd like to use for standard ZFS caching?
I don't know. And I echo you. I'm not an expert on this stuff. I don't know. Maybe there's some defaults. They just know they're going to get fewer problems if they ship with. So maybe that's
we need Tom in here.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish Tom was in here to sound. I mean, he's got a zillion videos on TrueNAS. Like when I was getting into home labbing, I watched so many of his videos on setting up TrueNAS and getting started with TrueNAS. So if he's the one you want to, or if you're looking to get in TrueNAS, just go watch Tom's videos. I'm pretty sure 99.9% of you guys know that already. Okay, yeah. You guys are on the B train. You guys were on the A train. I saw that. You guys were on the A train until I gave my spiel, and now you're on the B train. So I'm going to credit myself with being I may as well run for office with how well I convinced you guys that it was a B. But I think that's fair.
Yeah, agreed. My main concern was longevity. That's kind of why I jumped.
Yeah, I may well switch to scale, but I'm in the camp to where it just runs as a NAS, and I don't need it to do anything else, and it's stable. So until
by default,
it's not
all the
supported,
containers and stuff are off, so it's not running Kubernetes unless you start to play around with it. By default, it behaves like core, is my experience.
I used to run some jails on core, but after so many of them failing and breaking after updates, I was like, why am I even doing this? This is stupid.
Yeah.
I have other servers running Proxmox and various different VMs for Docker, so why am I here running jails on FreeBSD? So yeah, it's let's see. So Rob says, I was all set to use TrueNAS scale. Then I decided I want to use my server as a home theater PC as well. I couldn't find a way to do both, so I fell back to Windows 10. And that was kind of in the boat. I was kind of the opposite because I was running TrueNAS, or I was running Windows and virtualizing stuff. Then I was like, hey, why don't I run a server OS and then virtualize Windows? So now I'm in that kind of opposite camp. But that's one of those things, like so many people use Windows daily and it's something they need. And a lot of people don't have like a home lab where they can have like 5 different servers and machines running. So if you need one thing to do everything, you can spin up a lot on a Windows machine. You can run Docker, you can run native Plex apps, you can run a lot. So it's hard to fault somebody for just running Windows when it's familiar.
Yeah, I ran Hyper-V on it for easily a year and a half. The only annoying thing was just it force rebooted, and I could never find a consistent way to disable that. Even though I tried every sort of registry tweak, opted out of everything, it would always just randomly reboot, and it wasn't a power cut or anything. It was an actual reboot process.
Interesting. So Steven says TechnoTim did a video on cache and ZFS today. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So we talked about it briefly on Tom's stream last week, but I'll break it to everybody. We have a tech YouTuber Discord. It's a very secret Discord where all of us are like talking and we're in it. So if you're wondering, like if me and James have ever like even interacted before, like we're in a Discord with, we got like Tom in there, Tim, Jeff Geerling, Jeff from Craft Computing, Wendell. So we got a lot of the home lab tech tubers in there. So we do bounce ideas off of each other. We all talk about things. We vent. We talk about cool things we're working on. So, but yeah, Tim did do a video on ZFS today. I haven't favored it. I haven't watched it yet. I've been doing so much shit today, trying to get out videos and dealing with Linux shit. But I do have to watch that. I've marked it as my watch later.
Yeah, it's a good video. It will demystify some of what we spoke about earlier about the different types of caching and stuff.
Oh, does he go into detail about the different ones?
Yeah,
because that's
kind of
yeah,
how
that's good.
It's basically a performance tuning guide for
That's good.
for
I think
TrueNAS.
that'll be huge because a lot of people think just like, hey, I just need to throw as much NVMe as my cache pools as I need to, and that's the best idea. And from my very smooth brain understanding of caching in ZFS, that's not always the best case. So
No. And then you've got a 1 gig NIC attached to it, so you're already bottlenecked.
yeah, for real. Yeah, I'm running an NVMe cache and NVMe pool off of a 1 gig NIC. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So to be fair, I am running an NVMe pool on my TrueNAS server, but I have a Connect X3 40 gig card connected to it. So I am getting some benefit out of it.
I've got quad NVMe in my Proxmox server for my Longhorn nodes. That's only 10 gig, but I get something better. At least it's 10 times faster than 1 gig.
I used to run Longhorn on my K3S cluster, but I've moved from a physical K3S system to a virtualized K3S cluster sitting on top of a Proxmox HA cluster that's running Ceph So there's no need to have Longhorn on top of Ceph.
No, agreed.
And I've looked into Rook, and I really need to revisit it because apparently once you get it set up, it's fantastic to use inside of a K3S cluster. But I gave it the old, hey, let me see if I can spin this up easily and mess with it stab, and it didn't work very well.
And then the thought of trying to make a video on it.
Yeah, you ever get those things where you're like, oh, this would be a cool video. Let me see if I can get this up and running, and it turns into this like nightmare, and you're like, nah, I'm gonna revisit that later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that happens to me quite a bit. So this is the official tier list. We have it here.
Well, this is the entry exam to get onto the private site.
Yeah, it's asking me if I want to share this to Twitter. I guess I have to, right? Let me see. Can I? Wait, I want to just share what I create. Wait, hold on.
That's just an advert.
Yeah, no. Okay, download image. My image. Okay. Let's share this to Twitter. Okay. This is the official home server / NAS OS tier list, and if you don't agree, you probably run Arch. That should be good, right? Downloads, my image. I'll tag you in it. You got that underscore, huh?
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Jim's
Jim's garage is already taken. It's a US
Who took Jim's garage? Is it a guy who does like car stuff?
Yeah, he's got a much bigger YouTube channel than me.
Oh shit! Well then you can't be mad at him.
No, exactly.
Okay, it's tweeted out.
It's
I'm sure everyone will agree 100% with that, and I will have no issues there. I run Arch and I agree. Look, Alan, we know you're an Arch user. Actually, so next week on stream, I'll be opening the stickers that you guys sent me to put on this laptop, I have like five packages here of stickers to see what you guys want me to put on my laptop. And I know for a fact someone already tweeted me that one of them's an Arch one. So I'll have to have I use Arch by the way on my laptop, which will be really cool. Can't
Are
wait
they
for
safe
that.
for opening without looking first?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna review them first.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty bold to just hold them up to the camera like immediately after opening them. I don't trust my viewers that much. Yeah, that would be a little risque. So we did it. You want to dive into as we're wrapping things up here? I know it's getting late as shit for you over there.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. over here.
Yeah, we'll start. We'll end it on if you want to talk about what things you're excited about or what projects you got going on that you're looking forward to.
As anyone who watches my channel, you know it can be a bit sporadic, and usually I get onto a topic and then I kind of keep scratching, keep squirreling away, keep diving. I thought every time I do a Kubernetes video it kills my channel, but I'm not going to stop doing those. So there's a ton more stuff I want to do that. I kind of want to get to sort of where Techno Tim's got to with his K3S Ansible. I kind of want to take that a step further. I want to do kind of RKE2, which is kind of its kind of bigger brother, more secure. So I want to go down that route, and I want to kind of get a one-click installation that will use things like Terraform to spin up your infrastructure. It will then deploy everything through, say, an Ansible. I did want to use JetPorch, and I was a bit upset to see that got cancelled over Christmas. That was going to be kind of the spiritual successor to Ansible. But yeah, unfortunately, that got cancelled. So yeah, more around automation I think is where I want to get to, and then I'll probably start playing a little bit more around I know I've said earlier, but a bit about home automation. There's some stuff that I haven't covered on that. The whole ethos of the channel really was to try and get people to replicate what I've got in my lab and then sort of move from there. So I'm getting quite close to having that completed, and then I might go down the route of doing less sort of tech tutorials, more sort of talks, hardware reviews. I think that's something I've got in my banner reviews, and I don't think I've done a single review yet. So I think I kind of need to do that. But I feel it's like one of those as well where you probably need a bit of a following first. Otherwise, it's kind of a lot of effort, and you're not going to get much return on it.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I'd say I don't think I'm really in a place to offer like YouTube content advice because I still see myself as like this tiny little channel that somehow got subscribers. I don't know. And I'd be willing to bet like by the end of the year, I'd put money that you'll have more subscribers than me by next year. I bet. I'd say the best thing I did was to not pigeonhole myself into one specific content type because I've had situations where I've done videos that have like gotten a lot of views and I've wanted so bad to just like stick to that and just only do videos that I know are going to get views, but like I've run into situations where I just get burnt out so fast on certain things. I'm like, well, I think this like mini PC is cool. I want to do a video on it. I know it's not going to get a crap ton of views, but you know, if certain people subscribe to see this and certain people subscribe to see that, and you know, maybe not every video I post is going to be a banger and get like 1 million views, but as long as it's steady and I don't have to worry about, you know, a video bombing, then it works for me. So
no, that's good advice. Thank you. I think the interesting bit for me now is I think I've been quite consistent with the output, and I think I've got something like 80 odd videos now. And I think being open and honest to everyone on that's watching, my viewers included, there is an element now where I've kind of exhausted all of the things that I'd had sort of planned. So now I'm definitely getting into, there's an element of creating stuff, and what I try to do is I try to make my stuff sequential and kind of build up on previous learnings. But there is going to be a point where I get to where, and I haven't figured this out yet, sort of what is the next step. To your point, kind of don't just go down one route, don't get sort of shoehorned into one thing. And I think for me now, it's sort of, where do I want to take it? What sort of things do I want to start introducing? I think there's a ton of layer one stuff that I want to do, just to sort of, I've got this house that we've bought that needs so much work, and I've got so many ideas around laying Ethernet and putting fiber in the house and having all the machines running in the server next to me, but actually having like the kids' PC in their room being fully remote and all that kind of stuff. So that there's a lot of content around that I want to do. I just need to sort of figure out how I'm going to do it. One thing I probably need to do as well is work on editing and professionalism of the videos. I know they're not quite where they need to be, but for me, I'm not a very artistic person. I dial down on the content. Hopefully I make stuff that's easy to follow and is interesting, sort of get straight to the point. And I think sometimes you've got to stick to what you're good at. So
Yeah, no, I mean, you make fantastic content. I think the growth you've seen over the last few months has shown that. And I'm in the camp to where I realize, like, I spend way too much, like, money and time into, like, video and, like, making sure, like, the lighting and blah, blah, blah. And it's very ironic considering my camera overheated and turned off, which is hilarious. But people are like, oh, you need it. Like, what camera are you using? What mic are you using? Like, I want to make sure my YouTube videos are so, like, well produced. I'm like, that doesn't matter. That you can, like, camera phones and, like, just entry level digital cameras now are so good to where, as long as you have decent lighting and a decent mic, then you don't need fancy cameras and anything to, like, build this stuff. As long as your content is, like, you're passionate about it and people can, like, see that you actually, like, enjoy making it and you're, like, informative and, like, you care about the content. I think that's something that I never really thought that people could sense, really. But then when I started making videos, and I would do these videos where I didn't really want to make them, where people, I said, like, oh yeah, like, companies would reach out in my early days, are like, oh, can we send you, uh-oh, we lost him. Game over. Oh, he's back.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me this time. I don't know.
Camera overheat?
No, I think it was a pigeon on the telephone wire or something. The internet went down.
No, it does that. I was just gonna say, like, the main thing is, like, if you're creating content that you like and you're either you're passionate about it and you're providing something to the people to learn from, then that's all that matters.
Great.
Like I was saying, I've done videos where I've accepted a product that I thought was gonna be cool, and then I get it and I'm like, I don't really want to do a video on it anymore. And I'll, like, make the video half-assed and it gets, like, 6 views, and I'm like, okay, people can see right through, like, you obviously didn't care about making that. So as long as it's still fun and you enjoy doing it, I think you'll be.
Absolutely. I mean, I kind of set out to do X number of videos or cover certain topics, and I was I don't really care if no one watches this. In time, hopefully someone finds it useful, because I struggled on this stuff for years, and if this takes the sting out of something and makes people accelerate their learning, then great. If it doesn't work out, I basically had 12 months. I said to myself, if this doesn't work out in 12 months, I'll quit. And I still don't know how I feel about kind of sponsorships and things like that. I haven't kind of worked that out in my head, just because I never thought it would ever be a possibility. But I guess if my channel keeps growing as it is, I imagine, I mean, I've not even had one offer. I don't expect to anytime soon, but say in 12 months, if I've got 50-60k, something like that, I suspect I'd get a knock at the door. But I still don't know how I feel about that, because I almost feel like I lose a bit of control. And to your point, if there's something I really don't like, I almost feel compelled to go, sorry, I don't like it, or I'll give a review that's honest. I think, to me, and I know you did videos on it, but the Zima Blade, to me, I never got that product. I didn't understand it. I don't know.
No,
that's just where I was at.
That's big, and that moves into this weird field that I think there's such a disconnect between, like, the audience and the YouTubers in terms of how, like, sponsorships work, and, like, So from my perspective, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I'm always open and honest. I accept sponsorships. I do two things. When a brand contacts me and wants to send me something, I'll ask, do you want a sponsorship or do you want to send me something for a review? Yeah. And if they want to pay me for a sponsorship, then that price is a lot. I mean, they have to pay for it. And I will make it known in the video, like, this is sponsored. This had to go through, they had to approve this. So while I'll never come out and, like, if someone wants to, that's the second part of this, is like, I'm never going to take a sponsorship from a brand that I know is bad. Like, I'll tell you right off the bat, the companies that I've been paid to do videos for are Synology. I'm trying to think if Reolink has paid me. They sponsored CES, but I don't know that they've paid me to do a dedicated YouTube video. Ugreen has paid me for shorts. Sponsorship wise, American Cloud paid me to do a video. They give me free access to their cloud storage, which is why I use them for, like, VPS stuff. But I don't accept a lot of, like, paid sponsorship stuff. A lot of stuff is like, hey, do you want to send me a product? You can send it to me for free, but you're not going to be able to have any input.
No control. Yeah.
Yeah, like, if I think it sucks ass, then I'll let you know. So
no, I mean, I've watched a lot of your videos, and I think you've always done a good balance. And I think, to me, it's about the integrity, and I think you still nail that. So I think that's what it's about. It's
hard because then I feel bad. Like, because, like, I've done sponsored stuff on Synology, but I'm like, I actually like the Synology stuff. So it's hard because I'm being paid to say this stuff, but it's also like, guys, I actually like it. So it's kind of it's hard to justify this stuff. So it's this thing. I don't think anyone's ever gonna, like, fully knock it out the park with the balance between that kind of content. But as long as you're open and trustworthy in your reviews, and if you get a product and it's bad, you show that's bad. I think Colton from Hardware Haven's done a good balance there, because we've seen him in the Discord. That fancy Discord, the Zima Cube, and he's been going back and forth. I won't share too much. Go watch his video on the Zima Cube, but he was kind of like, man, like, I don't want to, like, say anything bad. Like, it's decent hardware, but there's these glaring issues, and I've, like, contacted them, and he was, like, going back and forth asking us, like, what to do and, like, opinions on how to handle this. I'm like, man, you have more restraint than I do. If they sent me this thing,
and you've got a deadline to get it out, haven't you?
Yeah, I would have been like, sorry guys, this thing sucks ass. Like, I'll put the video out, but he put a lot more effort and time into that than I would have, and I credit him for that and that patience.
Well.
Yeah, he nailed it on that one. So, but yeah, anything else you have going on? I guess we'll wrap it up here. I know it's late as shit for you over there.
No, just really a massive thank you for having me along. Really great to be here. Had a good time. Hope we can do it again in the future. Thanks, and I'll take your advice on board. That was useful.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone, if you haven't watched Jim's Garage, James's channel, go check it out. There's a link at the top of the description below. He makes awesome content. If you got an LXC kick in Proxmox like he does now, you'll be right on board there. But he makes some awesome stuff.
I'll be over it next week on something else.
It doesn't matter, because everyone else will be too, because that's how home labbing works. So yeah, definitely go check them out. Go subscribe. Obviously, if you're watching the VOD too, go check them out. But that is it. That is all we have. Go follow him on Twitter too, @_ Jim's Garage.
I think it's Jim's Garage _ I think.
I tweeted. I put them in my tweet, so go give them a follow over there as well. But
it's not a very exciting Twitter feed, I'm afraid. I'm not a very good social media person.
Me, dude, I go, like, through waves where I don't post shit for like a week, and then I'm like, oh wait, I haven't posted anything on my Twitter. I should probably tweet some things out. So I'm not very good at it.
It's pretty much promotion for my video, or I'm only
Yeah.
subscribed to, I think, you guys in the Discord, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't have time, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I've gotten like slightly better. Like, oh, this is an interesting tech thing. I'll take a picture and like post it on Twitter or some shit. I don't know, but yeah, that is it. Stream next week. I'll be learning Vim. So if you nerds want to freaking watch me learn Vim, that's weird, but hey, join in. We'll see where that goes. Maybe we'll all come out the other end, breathing the high air up there on our high horses. But that's it. I appreciate all you guys joining. Like I said, go give James's channel some loving, and I will see you guys next time.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. Take care. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye for now.